My lifelong dream was to just coast. My life plan was terrifyingly simple. No ambition, just enough to get by. But who would have thought that after one wild night, the legendary Clara Hayes, CEO worth billions and totally out of my league, would actually hand me a check and a contract. She wanted me to be her contract husband. 1 year, $100 million. My only job? Play along, act the part, and piss off her obnoxious arranged fiancé. Seriously? That wasn't a job. That was a fast-track ticket to my ultimate dream of doing absolutely nothing. I woke up to a regular humming sound. Not my phone vibrating, not an alarm. I opened my eyes to a massive, unfamiliar room that looked like something out of a magazine. A crystal chandelier, like I'd only seen in movies, hung from the ceiling. The air carried a faint, pleasant scent. The mattress beneath me was perfectly soft, letting me sink right in. I shifted, feeling a dull ache in my lower back. Fragments of last night started piecing together. A bar, booming music, whiskey after whiskey, a woman's profile, and some things best left unsaid. I shot upright, pulling back the covers to check myself. Okay, my clothes were still on, albeit wrinkled. I sighed in relief, then tensed up again. Where was I? Where was she? Had I been set up to get harvested for organs? I glanced around. The room was empty except for me. The humming came from a robot vacuum gliding in a corner. Hello. I called out cautiously. No answer. I got out of bed, my feet sinking silently into the plush carpet. I walked to the huge, floor-to-ceiling window and pulled back the curtains. Morning sunlight flooded in, revealing an immaculate garden below. In the distance, skyscrapers poked into the sky. I recognized it. This was the Enclave, the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. How did a regular guy like me end up here? Awake! A cool voice came from behind me. I jumped, spinning around. A woman stood in the doorway, dressed in a perfectly tailored white silk robe. Her long hair was casually tied back, and she wore no makeup, yet she was more stunning than any celebrity I'd ever seen. Her gaze was calm, as if she were appraising an object. It was her, the woman from last night. My mind buzzed, and all those fragmented memories instantly clicked into place. Last night, I stammered, unsure what to say. Apologize? Offer thanks? She didn't acknowledge my words, walking directly to a small bar in the room and pouring herself a glass of water. Would you like something? Coffee or water? She asked, her tone so flat it was as if we were old friends. Water. Water is fine, I said, my throat suddenly dry. She handed me a glass of warm water. As I took it, my fingers brushed hers. They were ice cold. My name is Clara Hayes. She introduced herself, then sat on a single armchair, crossing her legs with effortless grace. Of course, I knew her name was Clara Hayes, CEO of Hayes Group, a regular on every finance magazine cover, the youngest and wealthiest woman in the city. I'd only ever seen her on screens. I'm Ethan Miller, I mumbled. Ethan Miller, she repeated my name, then picked up a folder from a nearby table and tossed it onto the coffee table in front of me. Take a look. I stared for a moment, then picked up the folder. The first page was my personal information. Name, age, alma mater, my barely there job where I mostly just phoned it in. It even had a detailed account of how I got chewed out by my boss for slacking off yesterday afternoon. A chill ran down my spine. You investigated me? Understanding your partner's background is basic business practice, she said, taking a sip of water, her voice completely unruffled. I flipped to the second page. The title was 5 bolded words. Marriage Partnership Agreement. Party A, Clara Hayes. Party B, Ethan Miller. I read on, my eyes widening with each line. The agreement was simple. I, Ethan Miller, would play Clara Hayes' husband for 1 year. During this time, I'd accompany her to various events, deal with her family, and my core mission was to make sure her family's chosen fiancé gave up for good. I wouldn't need to work. She'd cover all my living expenses, provide a car, and an unlimited expense account. At the end of the term, if I performed well, she would pay me a lump sum of. I counted the zeros. Tens, hundreds, thousands, millions. Hundreds of millions. $100 million. I closed the folder, feeling like I was dreaming. Ms. Hayes, what? What is this supposed to mean? I tried to keep my voice steady. It means I need a husband, a shield, she looked at me. And you, Mr. Miller, need money. I saw your file. Your life's ambition is to just coast, isn't it? I didn't respond. I had indeed written that in the life goals section of my resume, purely as a joke at the time. $100 million is enough to keep you comfortable for the rest of your life, she said calmly. You just need to commit 1 year, play your role. Is it a deal or not? I looked at her expressionless face, then back at the agreement in my hand. My life's ambition was to coast, but I envisioned a modest salary, renting a small apartment, spending my days gaming and watching movies. $100 million to coast. I couldn't even imagine it. It sounded like a massive trap. Why me? I asked, voicing my biggest doubt. With your looks and money, you could have any guy you wanted. Why me? A regular guy. Clara Hayes stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. Because you're ordinary. A hint of emotion finally entered her voice. My arranged fiancé, Brandon Sterling, is the golden boy of Sterling Holdings. He's arrogant, sees himself as above everyone else, and despises ordinary people. If I found someone from an equally powerful family, he'd just see it as a challenge, fueling his competitive spirit. But if I chose you, she turned, looking at me, someone he considers completely useless. For him, that's not a challenge, it's an insult. He'll think I've lost my mind, that I've stooped to a new low, and then he'll lose interest in me. That's the effect I want. Her logic was sharp, her objective clear. She wasn't looking for a lover. She was looking for the most effective weapon. And I was that weapon, seemingly insignificant, yet potentially the most damaging. I need someone who appears absolutely no threat to me, who will never fall in love with me, and who can cleanly take the money and leave afterward, she added. Last night was an accident, but you're a good fit. You seem quite uninterested in me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It wasn't that I was uninterested. It was that I wouldn't dare. Think about it. She gestured to the agreement and a pen on the table. Sign it, and you move in today. Don't sign. The door's over there, and we'll pretend last night never happened. Take this card. The PIN is 888888. Consider it a small compensation. She pulled a black credit card from her wallet and placed it next to the agreement. I looked at the card, then at the $100 million contract. Two little devils were fighting in my head. One said, "Run. This is a trap from heaven, not a blessing. The world of the rich is too complicated. You'll get chewed up and spit out." The other said, $100 million. You make a few grand a month. How long would it take to earn that? It's just acting, right? All the world's a stage. Go for it. I took a deep breath. For over 20 years, I'd lived a conventional life, and my biggest dream was to never work again. Now, an incredible opportunity lay before me. The risks were unknown, but the reward was $100 million. I picked up the pen and looked at Clara Hayes. What I need to do? The corner of her mouth seemed to curve upward, ever so slightly, so fast I thought I'd imagined it. It's simple, she said. Just be yourself. The more of a slacker, the lazier, the better. This was practically method acting for me. There was really such a good deal out there? I no longer hesitated. I turned to the last page and signed my name in the Party B section. Ethan Miller. From today, I was a $100 million contract husband. After I signed, Clara Hayes called in a sharp-looking man with wire-rimmed glasses. This is Mr. Henderson, my lawyer, Clara introduced. Mr. Henderson gave me a professional nod, then proceeded to explain the contract details, line by line. Basically, it was the do's and don'ts. We couldn't reveal our fake marriage to outsiders, couldn't interfere with each other's private lives, and absolutely couldn't develop real feelings. That last one was bolded. No problem there, I thought. With that Ice Queen facade, falling for you would be tough anyway. Mr. Henderson finished, handing me a copy of the contract. Mr. Miller, this is your copy. Please keep it safe. Got it, I said, taking the surprisingly heavy document. From now until this time next year, you are legally married. Mr. Henderson adjusted his glasses. I've made arrangements. Tomorrow morning at 9, meet at the county clerk's office. That fast? I was surprised. Brandon Sterling's side is pushing hard. My grandfather is close to giving in, Clara explained. We need to act quickly. I nodded, understanding. You pay me, I do the job. After Mr. Henderson left, Clara Hayes gave me a tour of our new home. It was a top-floor penthouse duplex, so large it felt like a maze. Downstairs were the living room, dining room, gym, and home theater. Upstairs were 2 bedrooms and studies. This is your room. She opened a door. Everything you need is prepared inside. Your clothing size was estimated from your clothes last night. It should be about right. I walked in and wow, a huge walk-in closet filled with clothes of brands I recognized and didn't, from casual wear to formal attire, all ready to go. What about my old stuff? I asked. I've sent someone to your apartment to pack it up. It'll be delivered this afternoon. She glanced at her watch. Get some rest. Change your clothes. At noon, I'm taking you to meet someone. Who? My grandfather. My heart sank. Meeting the family already? Don't be nervous. She seemed to sense my apprehension. My grandfather is a very open-minded man. You just need to remember one thing. No matter what he asks, just tell him the truth. The truth. I wasn't sure. Including our arrangement. Of course not that. She shot me a look. I mean about your own situation. The more honest you are about your ordinary life, the more he'll believe my choice was due to, well, love. The word love sounded particularly unconvincing coming from her. I got it. My ordinary self was the best disguise. At noon, I changed into a casual outfit Clara had picked out for me and got into a Rolls Royce. To be honest, it was the first time in my life I'd ever been in such an expensive car. The silence inside was so profound I could only hear my own breathing, and the seats were more comfortable than my own couch. I couldn't help but touch everything. Never been in one? Clara asked, her eyes on the road. Nope, first time, I answered honestly. She didn't say anything else. The car drove into an estate and stopped in front of a traditional-style house. A silver-haired, energetic old man was sitting at a stone table in the courtyard, drinking tea. Grandpa, Clara said, walking over, her voice softening in a way I hadn't heard before. Grandpa Hayes looked up, his sharp gaze lingering on Clara for a second before fixing directly on me. His eyes felt like they could see right through me. My stomach churned a bit, but I forced a smile. Nice to meet you, sir. Grandpa Hayes didn't respond, just scrutinized me from head to toe. Sit. He gestured to the stone stool opposite him. I did as told. Clara told me everything. Grandpa Hayes finally said, his voice booming. She said she wouldn't marry anyone but you. I almost choked on my own saliva. This wasn't in the script. We agreed I was just a shield. How did it become, wouldn't marry anyone but me? I looked to Clara for help. Clara's expression didn't change as she poured me a cup of tea. Grandpa, I brought him here so you could see him. See what? See how he's better than that Sterling boy. Grandpa Hayes snorted. He's better than Brandon Sterling in every way, Clara stated calmly. My hand, holding the teacup, trembled. Come on, Clara. You're building me up too much. I can't live up to it. Oh, tell me more. Grandpa Hayes clearly didn't believe her. He's genuine, not fake. Clara looked at me, an emotion I couldn't decipher in her eyes. He doesn't pretend to be someone he's not to please others. He presents himself exactly as he is. I was stunned. Was she complimenting me? Complimenting my laziness, my slacker tendencies? Is that so? Grandpa Hayes turned his gaze back to me. Young man, what do you do for work? Here it came, the classic question. I remembered Clara's words, took a deep breath, and answered honestly. I used to work at an advertising agency, but I just quit last month. So, I'm currently unemployed. Grandpa Hayes's eyebrows shot up. Clara immediately chimed in. I told him to quit. I didn't want him to work too hard. Seamless teamwork. Oh, Grandpa Hayes drew out the sound. Then what's your ambition? I thought back to my resume again. I don't have any grand ambitions. I scratched my head, a little embarrassed. I just want to wake up naturally every day, not have to go to work, and have enough to eat and drink. After I spoke, the courtyard fell silent. I felt Grandpa Hayes's expression darken. Clara's face also seemed to stiffen. Crap, did I say too much? Is the script falling apart? Just as I thought Grandpa Hayes was about to slam his hand down and kick me out, he suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. His laughter was hearty, full of vigor. Interesting. Very interesting. Grandpa Hayes pointed at me, speaking to Clara. You're getting pickier and pickier, girl. This kid, he's much more likable than that hypocritical Brandon Sterling. I was dumbfounded. Clara also visibly relaxed. Grandpa, so you approve? What good is my approval? Your own happiness is for you to decide. Grandpa Hayes took a sip of tea. But I have to warn you, young man. He looked at me, his eyes sharp again. A grandson-in-law of the Hayes family can be without money, without power, but not without backbone. Clara can support you, but you cannot truly be content being a waste. My heart clenched, and I immediately straightened up. Grandpa, I understand. All right, stay for dinner. Grandpa Hayes waved a hand. I'll tell the kitchen to make extra dishes. Dinner was relatively harmonious. On the way back, I couldn't help but ask Clara, your grandpa just accepted me like that. He didn't accept you, Clara said. He was just backing me up. He knows I don't like Brandon Sterling. So no matter who I brought home, as long as it wasn't too outlandish, he'd support me. And am I outlandish? She glanced at me, on the edge of outlandish. Me? Back home, I collapsed onto the couch, feeling more exhausted than after 3 days of work. Dealing with rich people was too mentally draining. Tomorrow morning at 9, county clerk's office. Don't be late, Clara said, then headed upstairs. Watching her go, I suddenly felt that this $100 million might not be so easy to earn after all. The next day, I specifically set 3 alarms, waking up promptly at 8. After washing up, I stared at the rows of clothes in the walk-in closet, stumped. Going to the county clerk's office to get married. That counted as work, right? Should I dress formally? I picked out a white button-down shirt and a pair of dress pants, changing into them. I looked in the mirror. The person staring back was sharp and well-dressed, but it didn't quite match my usual vibe. I still felt a little awkward. Whatever, this will have to do. When I went downstairs, Clara was already at the dining table, eating breakfast. Today she wore a simple white dress and light makeup, looking softer than usual. Morning, I greeted her. She nodded, gesturing to the seat opposite her. Seat, eat something. On the table were sandwiches, milk, and a fried egg. A simple Western-style breakfast. I sat down, picked up a sandwich, and took a bite. It tasted good. Are you nervous? She suddenly asked. A little, I admitted. After all, we were going to get a marriage certificate. Even if it was fake, that little red booklet was real. Relax, she said. It's just a procedure. Go in, sign, take a picture, come out. 10 minutes done. She said it so casually, like she was going to the convenience store for a bottle of water. I nodded, speeding up my breakfast. At 8:45, we left promptly. This time, it wasn't a Rolls-Royce, but a very understated black Porsche. Clara drove herself. Soft instrumental music played in the car. I watched the city streets whiz by, a mix of emotions churning inside me. Yesterday, I was a corporate drone, constantly sucking up to my boss for a few grand a month. Today, I was marrying a CEO worth billions. Life was truly wild. At the county clerk's office, Mr. Henderson was already waiting with a briefcase. Ms. Hayes, Mr. Miller, everything's ready. We got out of the car and followed Mr. Henderson inside. Perhaps it was still early, but there weren't many people there to get married today. Everything went incredibly smoothly, just as Clara had said. Fill out forms, sign, fingerprint. Then came the photo. Clara and I sat side by side in front of a red backdrop. The photographer, an enthusiastic woman, said, "Oh, the first couple of the day is a handsome pair. Come on, groom. Move a little closer to the bride. Smile, look happy." I tried to force a smile, feeling my facial muscles stiffen. I secretly glanced at Clara. She was the same, her lips curved slightly upward, but her eyes held no hint of smile. Our expressions looked like we were posing for a corporate yearbook photo. Click! Our married couple image was captured forever. 10 minutes later, we each held a little red booklet. I opened mine, looking at the stiff photo of Claire and me, and the 4 bold words, marriage certificate. It felt utterly surreal. All right, my job here is done, Mr. Henderson put away his files. Ms. Hayes, Mr. Miller, congratulations on your wedding. He emphasized wedding a little too much. I gave a dry chuckle. Back in the car, the atmosphere was a little strange. We were now legally husband and wife. So, where to now? I asked. Home, she said. Oh, the car started, merging into traffic. I casually tossed the marriage certificate into the glove compartment. Clara glanced at me, said nothing, but carefully placed her own booklet into her purse. Back at the enclave, Clara took a call. It seemed there was an urgent matter at the company. I have a meeting at the office this afternoon. You're on your own for dinner, she said, kicking off her heels. Okay. I was secretly thrilled for her to leave, so I could finally coast at home alone. There are ingredients in the fridge if you know how to cook. If not, You can order takeout, or ask Mrs. Davis to come over. I can cook, I said. Are you kidding? As a single guy living alone, I had to save money on takeout. My cooking skills were top-notch. She nodded, changed quickly, and hurried out. The huge house was instantly empty except for me. I cheered, flinging myself onto the soft sofa in a huge X shape. Freedom! I pulled out my phone, opened my DoorDash app, and ordered a deluxe spicy curry and a large caramel macchiato. Then I turned on the TV, found the goofy sitcom I'd been following, and settled in to watch with relish. This was life. No work, no boss's glares, living in a mansion, eating takeout, watching shows. Wasn't this the coasting through life dream I'd always envisioned? That $100 million contract was practically custom-made for me. As I was reveling in my happiness, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered casually. Hello, may I speak with Mr. Ethan Miller? A very polite male voice came from the other end. This is he. Who's calling? Mr. Miller, I'm Mr. Brandon Sterling's assistant. Mr. Sterling would like to meet with you. Would that be convenient? Brandon Sterling? Clara's arranged fiancé. Why would he want to see me? I instantly became guarded. Sorry, I don't know him well. There's nothing for us to discuss. Mr. Miller, Mr. Sterling comes with good intentions. He's waiting for you at the coffee shop right outside your complex. We hope you'll honor us with your presence. The voice was courteous, but the implication was clear. Refusal wasn't an option. My brow furrowed. He tracked me down so quickly. Well, it seemed my job was officially beginning. I hung up, feeling a little annoyed. My spicy curry had just arrived, and I hadn't even had a bite. But no choice. I took the money. Now I had to do the work. I changed and decided to go meet this Brandon Sterling. At the coffee shop outside the complex, I spotted him immediately. He sat by the window, wearing a bespoke suit, a gleaming watch on his wrist, his hair impeccably styled. He looked like he'd stepped right out of fashion magazine. He saw me, and a look of undisguised contempt flashed across his face. I walked straight over and sat opposite him. You're Ethan Miller? He asked, his voice dripping with condescending arrogance. That's me. I nodded. What can I do for you, Mr. Sterling? He didn't answer, but pulled a check from his jacket pocket and pushed it across the table to me. That's $1 million, he said. Leave Clara Hayes. I looked down at the check. $1 million. To my old self, that would have been a fortune. But now, I just signed a $100 million contract yesterday. The contrast was a little dramatic. I didn't touch the check, looking up at him. Mr. Sterling, what exactly do you mean by this? What do I mean? He laughed, a mocking, derisive sound. I've seen your type 1,000 times. It's all about the money, isn't it? $1 million is enough for someone like you to live off for a while. Take the money, disappear from Clara's life, and don't let me see you again. I understood. He thought I was some gold-digging opportunist trying to leech off the rich. And fair enough. In their eyes, what else would an ordinary guy like me want from Clara Hayes besides money? Perfect. That's exactly what I want him to think. I picked up the check, glanced at it, then put it back down. Mr. Sterling, I said slowly, you might have the wrong idea about me. Wrong idea? He acted like I'd said the funniest thing. You're an unemployed drifter. Your entire outfit probably costs less than $500. What could you possibly have with Clara? If it's not for money, is it for love? Why couldn't it be? I countered. He froze, then burst into an even louder laugh. Love? You? Are you even worthy? Do you know what kind of person Clara is? Every drop of water she drinks is flown in from the Alps. Every piece of clothing she wears is custom-made by top European designers. And you? What do you offer her for love? Your entry-level salary. His words were harsh, loaded with humiliation. My old self would have flipped the table. But now I was surprisingly calm, because I knew the more he acted like this, the easier it would be for Clara to achieve her goal. I was just an actor, diligently playing my part. Mr. Sterling, I sighed, putting on a you-wouldn't-understand expression. All those material things you mentioned, Clara already has them. She lacks nothing. What she truly lacks is someone who can help her relax, someone who can make her happy. You think she enjoys those gourmet steaks at high-end restaurants? No, she actually prefers tacos from a food truck. You think she likes attending classical music concerts? No, she actually prefers binge-watching goofy sitcoms with me. You're not from her world. You simply don't understand her. Brandon Sterling's face visibly darkened. He was clearly provoked by my words. He always believed he was the one who understood Clara best, the only man truly worthy of her. Now, in his eyes a poor nobody, was telling him he didn't understand Clara at all. It was a huge blow to his ego. "You're talking nonsense," he growled. "Whether it's nonsense or not, you know the truth deep down," I continue to press. "You give her expensive jewelry, and she locks it in a safe. You book out entire restaurants for her birthday, and she doesn't genuinely smile once. Mr. Sterling, what you're giving her isn't what she wants." Of course, all of this was made up, but seeing Brandon Sterling's face turn increasingly green, I knew I was hitting the mark. He pointed at me, too furious to speak. "So, Mr. Sterling, I can't accept your money." I pushed the check back. "I'm with Clara not for money. We're genuinely in love." When I said genuinely in love, I almost gagged myself. Brandon Sterling glared at me, his eyes practically spitting fire. Fine, genuinely in love," he suddenly calmed, a cold sneer on his face. "I'll be watching to see how long your love lasts." He stood up, adjusted his suit, and reverted to his arrogant, superior demeanor. "Juan, Ethan Miller, right? I'll remember you. We'll see about this." With that, he turned and left. I watched his retreating back, then picked up the coffee on the table and took a sip. It was a little cold, but inside I felt a little rush. This must be the fun part of the job. I got home, and my spicy curry was stone cold. I heated it up in a microwave, ate it, and relived my battle from earlier. Not bad. My acting skills were pretty decent. That evening, Clara Hayes returned. She looked exhausted, kicked off her heels the moment she walked in, and walked barefoot across the floor. "You're back." I greeted her. She hummed, then threw herself onto the sofa, closing her eyes. "Want some water?" I asked. She didn't speak, just nodded. I poured her a glass of warm water. She took it, drinking a large gulp. "Brandon Sterling came to see me today," I said. She opened her eyes, looking at me. "What did he say?" I recounted everything that happened at the coffee shop that afternoon. She listened quietly, her face expressionless. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. "You did very well," she suddenly said. "Huh?" I was a little surprised. "Better than I expected," she repeated. "I thought you might take his money." I was tempted. I joked, "But $1 million to buy out a $100 million contract? That's a bad deal." She didn't laugh, just looked at me, her gaze incredibly complex. "How did you feel today? Getting married?" She suddenly asked an unrelated question. "No strong feelings," I said. "Just thought the photo wasn't great." We both looked pretty fake smiling. She paused, then I saw the corner of her mouth, once again, curve upward ever so slightly. This time, I was sure I hadn't imagined it. She smiled. Though only for a moment, she had definitely smiled. Life cohabiting with Clara Hayes was more uneventful than I'd imagined. She was busy, often leaving early and returning late, sometimes traveling for work. We were like roommates, and not even the close kind. Most of the time, I was home alone. I completely settled into my dream, coasting life, waking up naturally every day, then playing video games, watching movies, researching recipes. I never once used that unlimited expense account. Firstly, my material desires weren't high. Secondly, I always felt a bit awkward spending her money. I usually cooked my own 3 meals a day. Sometimes when Clara was home for dinner, I'd just make an extra portion. She preferred bland food, no spice, no cilantro. I'd always set aside her portion when I cooked. She never said anything, but she always finished the meal I prepared. One evening, I was in the kitchen simmering soup when Clara returned. She looked to be in a bad mood, her face pale. "You're back? Dinner's almost ready," I called out. She didn't answer, walking directly to the bar and pulling a bottle of red wine from the cabinet. She poured a full glass, then drank most of it in one go. I looked at her, a little concerned. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." She poured herself another glass. I turned off the stove, walked over, and gently held her hand. "Don't drink on an empty stomach. It'll hurt your stomach. Let's eat first." She looked up, her eyes a little red. "Ethan," she suddenly asked, if one day I lost everything, would you still stay by my side?" I froze. What was happening? "How could you lose everything?" I asked. "I'm just saying if," she insisted, looking at me. I fell silent. Our relationship was built on a contract and $100 million. If she went bankrupt, the contract would naturally be void. Would I stay? The answer seemed to be no. I didn't want to lie to her. Ms. Hayes, I know we have a contract. She cut me off, a hint of self-deprecation in her voice. I was just asking. She pushed my hand away, reaching for the wine again. I snatched the glass from her. Eat first. I took her wrist, pulling her to the dining table. Whatever it is, we can talk after dinner. Her hand was cold and very thin. It was the first time I realized that this powerful woman, who seemed invincible to outsiders, was actually quite fragile. She didn't resist anymore, silently sitting at the dining table. I served her a bowl of soup. Try it. I simmered it all afternoon. She picked up her spoon and sipped slowly. During dinner, neither of us spoke. Afterward, she started clearing the dishes. I was a little flattered. I can do that. No need, she refused. You work hard today, too. I watched her busy in the kitchen, feeling a bit strange. Was this still the high and mighty CEO, Clara? When she came out after washing the dishes, her mood seemed much calmer. Today at the company, Brandon Sterling teamed up with several board members to try and remove me as CEO, she said, sitting on the sofa, her voice flat. My heart jolted. That's serious? They said I neglected the company's interests for a kept man, antagonizing the Sterling family, which would affect major company projects. I understood. After his setback at the coffee shop, Brandon Sterling had started attacking from within the company. So what about you? I've temporarily suppressed it, she said. But my grandfather, he's under a lot of pressure. I finally understood why she'd been so emotional tonight. I'm sorry, I said. It's all because of me. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have had such a tense falling out with Brandon Sterling. It's not your fault, she shook her head. Even without you, Brandon and I would have reached this point eventually. You were just a catalyst. She paused, then continued. Next Friday, the company has a charity gala. It's very important. Brandon Sterling will definitely be there, and he will undoubtedly make a scene publicly. I immediately understood what she meant. What I need to do. That night, you'll be my escort, she looked at me. I need you to completely quash any lingering hopes everyone has. How do I do that? When the time comes, just follow my lead. I nodded. Okay. This was the first truly big mission I'd received since signing the contract. I had a feeling my peaceful, coasting life might be coming to an end. Over the next few days, Clara Hayes put me through special training. From fine dining etiquette to ballroom dancing steps, and even how to recognize important figures at the gala. My head was spinning. You must remember these people's faces and positions, she said, holding a stack of materials, her expression serious. Especially these few. They're major shareholders and people Brandon Sterling is trying to win over. I looked at the photos of those fox-like smiling faces, feeling my brain was officially fried. This is too hard. I groaned. I can't remember all of them. You have to, she said mercilessly. You don't want your $100 million to disappear, do you? At the mention of money, I immediately perked up. I picked up the materials and started cramming like my life depended on it. Besides theoretical knowledge, there was practical application. Clara even turned the living room into a dance floor, teaching me the waltz hand in hand. Her hand rested on my shoulder, her body very close to mine. I could smell her faint, pleasant scent. My heart rate inexplicably sped up a few beats. Focus, she frowned. You just stepped on my foot. Sorry. I quickly apologized, my face a little red. We were very close, the position somewhat intimate. I could feel her breath, warm on my neck. The atmosphere was subtly shifting. I was about to say something to break the awkwardness. She suddenly let go of me, stepping back. That's enough for today. Her cheeks also seemed a little flushed. On the night of the charity gala, I wore the bespoke suit Clara Hayes had prepared for me. The person in the mirror was tall and distinguished. I barely recognized myself. Not bad. Clara surveyed me, a satisfied nod. She wore a black backless gown that evening, a dazzling diamond necklace around her neck. She was absolutely radiant like a queen. I stared, a little dumbfounded. Let's go. She linked her arm through mine. Her arm was cool, her skin smooth. I felt my arms stiffen slightly. The gala was held at a lavish five-star hotel. The moment we entered, we became the center of attention. Countless gazes, probing, curious, jealous, shot our way. I could feel the arm linked with mine tighten slightly. I whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, I'm here." She paused, then whispered back, "Good line." "Me?" We navigated through wave after wave of people coming up to greet us. I strained to recall the information I'd crammed over the past few days, matching names and positions to each Mr. So and director this and that. Thankfully, there were no major mishaps. Clara Hayes was clearly pleased with my performance. A faint smile played on her lips the whole time. Soon, I saw Brandon Sterling. He was surrounded by a crowd, the center of attention. He saw us, and his smile vanished instantly, his eyes coldly sweeping over me. I knew the show was about to begin. Halfway through the gala was the charity auction. The host stood on stage, passionately introducing each item. Clara and I sat in the front row. Brandon Sterling sat diagonally opposite us. From the moment we entered, his gaze hadn't left us, filled with blatant provocation. And now, for our next item, a sapphire necklace, Heart of the Ocean, generously donated by our very own CEO of Hayes Group, Clara Hayes. Bidding starts at $5 million. As soon as the host finished, a collective gasp swept through the room. I looked at the necklace on stage, sparkling with a deep blue light under the spotlights, and was also surprised. "You donated this?" I whispered to Clara. I remembered her saying it was an heirloom from her mother. "It's just for show. I'll buy it back myself," she said calmly. I understood. It was a common practice in rich circles, a clever accounting trick that let them do charity and gain reputation. $5.5 million. $6 million. Bids came in rapidly. Soon, the price soared to $10 million. Clara Hayes hadn't raised her paddle yet. $15 million. Brandon Sterling suddenly called out, his voice loud, his gaze fixed directly on us. All eyes in the room instantly turned to us. This was outright provocation. He knew the significance of that necklace to Clara. He wanted to snatch it from her right in front of everyone. Clara's face hardened. $20 million. She raised her paddle. $25 million. Brandon Sterling immediately countered, a triumphant smile on his face. $30 million. $35 million. The price kept climbing. The atmosphere in the room grew tense. Everyone understood this was no longer a simple auction, but a direct confrontation between Hayes Group and Sterling Holdings. When Clara Hayes called out $50 million, Brandon Sterling hesitated. But then, as if making a firm decision, he raised his paddle again. $60 million. The entire room gasped. $60 million for a necklace was far beyond its actual value. Clara Hayes's brows were tightly furrowed. Her company's cash flow had been tight recently. She couldn't keep going. She lowered her paddle. Brandon Sterling's face broke into a victorious smile. He looked at Clara, his eyes filled with triumph and showmanship. The host was about to bring down the hammer. $60 million, going once. $60 million, going twice. Just then I raised my paddle. $100 million, I said calmly. My voice wasn't loud, but in the silent hall, it carried clearly to everyone's ears. The entire room instantly fell into a stunned silence. Everyone stared at me as if I were insane, including Clara Hayes. She turned to me in shock, her mouth slightly agape, speechless for a long moment. Brandon Sterling's smile also froze. "Sir, are you sure?" The host stammered. "I'm sure," I nodded. "Where was I going to get $100 million? I didn't have it. But I had a contract worth $100 million. I was basically taking an advance on my salary." Clara Hayes looked at me, her gaze incredibly complex. There was shock, confusion, and a hint of something I couldn't decipher. I winked at her, signaling her not to worry. Worst case, I worked for free for a year. But this humiliation, today, had to be averted. I couldn't let Brandon humiliate her in front of everyone. Brandon Sterling's face had turned beet red. $100 million wasn't something he couldn't produce. But if he matched it, he'd be the laughingstock of the entire event, spending $100 million just to spite a kept man. If he backed down, then everything he had meticulously planned tonight would have played directly into my hands, making me look like the hero. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. $100 million, going once. $100 million, going twice. The host called out excitedly. Brandon Sterling's fists were clenched tight, veins bulging on his forehead. Ultimately, he didn't raise his paddle. $100 million, going 3 times. Sold. Congratulations to Mr. Miller. Bang. The gavel came down. The room erupted in thunderous applause. I stood up and, under everyone's gaze, walked confidently onto the stage. I took the Heart of the Ocean from the host, then walked directly to Clara Hayes. I knelt on one knee, offering her the necklace. Ms. Hayes, I looked into her eyes, speaking slowly and clearly. This necklace, only you are worthy of it. The entire room erupted again. Camera flashes exploded, capturing the moment. Tears shimmered in Clara Hayes' eyes. She extended her hand, allowing me to fasten the necklace around her neck. The cold jewels touched her warm skin. I secured the necklace and stood up. She stood up too, then, in front of everyone, gave me a hug. It was light, but very real. Thank you, she whispered in my ear, in a voice only we could hear. In that moment, I felt that my advanced $100 million was totally worth it. After the gala, Clara Hayes and I were the next day's headlines across all finance and entertainment sections. Mystery Man drops $100 million to win CEO's heart. Hayes Group CEO's love story revealed. Heart of the Ocean seals epic romance. I looked at the exaggerated headlines on my phone, finding them a little funny. Me, Ethan Miller, a total slacker, was now being called a mystery suitor and a devoted millionaire. You're quite the celebrity now, Clara said, sipping her coffee and scrolling through news on her tablet. All thanks to you. I shrugged. That $100 million will be deducted from your compensation, she said. Got it. I replied indifferently. That $100 million had always felt more like a number to me anyway, without much real meaning. However, she changed the subject. As a reward, I can grant you one wish. Any wish. Any wish. My eyes lit up. Even letting me end the contract early and walk away with the remaining money? She gave me a cold look. No. Then how is it any wish? I mumbled. Aside from that, she added. I thought for a moment. Then give me a few days off. This work has been exhausting. I need to rest. She paused, seemingly not expecting such a simple request. All right, she nodded. Where do you want to go? Just stay home. Nowhere else. And so, I resumed my eat, sleep, repeat coasting life for a few days. But over these few days, my relationship with Clara Hayes seemed to have undergone a subtle shift. She started coming home earlier. Sometimes she would even cancel evening engagements just to come home and eat a meal I'd cooked. We started acting like a normal couple, sitting on the couch together to watch TV, discussing plot lines. Though most of the time, it was me talking and her listening. One time, we were watching a romance movie, and the main characters were kissing in the rain. I quipped, "This director is so unrealistic. It's pouring rain. Their makeup must be ruined, and they're still kissing." She suddenly asked, "Then what do you think is the best time to kiss?" I froze. I looked at her, her face flickering in the light and shadow of the TV screen. Her lips were thin, pale, and looked soft. My throat moved, and the air in the room suddenly felt hot. I don't know. I averted my gaze, not daring to look at her anymore. She didn't say anything else, and silence returned to the room. Only the voices of the main characters on TV. A few days later, Clara Hayes suddenly said to me, "This weekend, come with me to my hometown." "Your hometown?" "Yes, it's my grandma's birthday," she said. "She's been wanting to meet you." My head started to ache. More family meetings. And this time, it was her hometown, which felt even more formal than meeting her grandfather. "Can I not go?" I asked tentatively. "No," she replied flatly. "The whole family will be there. You, as the grandson-in-law, must attend." All right, more work. That weekend, we drove the understated Porsche for 3 hours, arriving at a quaint, picturesque town. Clara Hayes' childhood home was a simple 2-story house, its yard filled with flowers and plants. A kind-looking old woman with silver hair was sitting in the yard, sunbathing. "Grandma!" Clara hurried over, kneeling in front of the old woman, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "Oh, my sweet granddaughter is back." Grandma Hayes beamed, her smile wide. "Let Grandma see. Have you lost weight?" I stood awkwardly to the side, holding a gift. "Grandma, this is Ethan." Clara took my hand and introduced me to the old woman. "Nice to meet you, Grandma." I bowed slightly. Grandma Hayes smiled warmly, sizing me up. Good. This young man, he's very handsome." She pulled my hand, made me sit beside her, and started asking me all sorts of questions. From my age to how many people were in my family, to what kind of food I liked. Just like any normal grandma. I answered each question honestly. Clara Hayes stood by, watching us with a gentle smile. In that moment, I had a sudden illusion. It felt like we were truly a family. The 2 days at Clara Hayes' hometown were the most relaxed I'd been since signing the contract. No corporate battles, no schemes, just everyday family matters and the scent of home-cooked meals. Grandma Hayes really liked me, chatting with me all afternoon. She told me funny stories about Clara's childhood, how she never used to smile much like a little adult, how she loved sweets but was afraid of getting fat, so she'd only ever sneak a tiny bite. I looked at Clara, watering flowers in the yard not far away, and found it hard to connect her with the little girl who loved sweets Grandma described. In the evening, all of Clara's relatives arrived, and the table was laden with dishes. I was treated like the guest of honor, and ended up drinking quite a bit. I'm not a big drinker, and after a few glasses, I started to feel dizzy. Clara noticed and subtly intercepted several drinks for me. After dinner, I was assigned to share a room with Clara. It was her childhood room. The room was small but cozy. There were even some faded celebrity posters on the wall. I looked at the poster of a pop star from over a decade ago and couldn't help but laugh. I didn't know you used to be a fan. Clara's face instantly flushed. Don't look, she said, a little mortified, reaching to tear the poster down. Hey, don't tear it. It's a keepsake. I stopped her. We ended up wrestling playfully in the small room. Eventually, we both tumbled onto the small bed. I was on top. She was underneath. Our eyes met, our breaths mingling. Her face was bright red, her eyes a little flustered. My heart pounded. So, sorry. I quickly scrambled up. It's fine. She sat up too, adjusting her hair, avoiding my gaze. The atmosphere in the room instantly became incredibly charged. I'm going to take a shower, she said, then fled into the bathroom as if escaping. I sat on the bed, still able to smell the shampoo from her hair. I patted my own face. Ethan, get a grip. The contract says no real feelings. When Clara came out after a shower, we both tacitly avoided mentioning the awkward moment earlier. There was only one bed in the room. I'll sleep on the floor, I offered. No need, she said. The bed's big enough. She lay down, turning her back to me. I hesitated, then lay down on the other side of the bed. A wide chasm separated us. I could hear her even breathing. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next day, we were heading back. Before we left, Grandma Hayes took my hand and slipped a small envelope into my pocket. Here, a little something from Grandma. Grandma, I can't take this. I quickly protested. You must. The old lady put on a stern face. Otherwise, you're looking down on me. I had no choice but to accept it. The envelope wasn't thick, but it felt heavy. On the way back, I opened the envelope. Inside were 2 crisp $20 bills. I looked at the new bills, an indescribable feeling in my heart. My grandma really likes you, Clara suddenly said. Yeah, I really like Grandma too, I said sincerely. Ethan, she paused, then asked, do you like this kind of life? What kind? Just ordinary, simple, worrying about everyday things. I thought about it. It's pretty good. This is what life's all about, isn't it? She didn't say anything else, but in the rearview mirror, I saw the corner of her mouth curve up again. Back at the Enclave, just as I was about to head to my room, Clara Hayes called out to me. Ethan. Yeah, Brandon Sterling. He's in trouble. My heart sank. What kind of trouble? He's been taken in for questioning on suspicion of commercial bribery and stock manipulation, she said. At the charity gala, despite me, he misappropriated a large sum of company funds. It all came out. I was stunned. I never expected that my impulsive $100 million bid that night would become the straw that broke the camel's back. So, our contract. I asked tentatively. Brandon Sterling was out of the picture. Did that mean my shield duty was over? Could I get my money early and regain my freedom? To my surprise, I didn't feel as happy as I thought I would. Instead, there was a hint of disappointment. The contract continues. Clara Hayes looked at me, her eyes firm. My grandfather said he has a good feeling about us. He hopes we can make it work for real. Huh? I was completely bewildered. So, Mr. Miller, she took a step closer to me, and for the first time, a truly genuine smile bloomed on her face, like an iceberg melting into a spring bloom. Would you be willing to continue being my husband? This time, with no end date. I stared at the smile on Clara Hayes' face, a smile beautiful enough to make 100 flowers pale, and my mind went blank. A husband with no end date? What did that mean? Was this fake relationship turning real? My first thought was, what about my $100 million? No, wait, my $100 million had already been advanced to the charity gala. Now, not only did I not get paid, but I essentially worked for a year for free. Ms. Hayes, I carefully chose my words. Our contract states 1 year. Now that the main conflict, Brandon Sterling, has been resolved, shouldn't we? We can't. She cut me off, her smile unchanging. I said, as a reward for the gala, I grant you one wish. Now, it's my turn to make a request. That's a take it or leave it deal. You can choose to disagree, she said. Then we can get divorced tomorrow. And then, I'll tell my grandfather how you tricked me out $100 million and then abandoned me. Me? I looked at her. She was watching me with a deceptively sweet smile. I finally understood. This woman, once she shed her cold facade, was a cunning fox. I was no match for her. Fine, you win, I surrendered. I'll keep being your husband. But I'm warning you, I still want to coast. I'm not coming to work at your company. Fine, she agreed readily. I'll support you. When those words came from her, why did they sound so assertive and yet so appealing? And so, I went from a contract husband to a long-term meal ticket. Life seemed unchanged, yet everything felt different. Clara Hayes was no longer the ice-cold CEO. She would laugh, she would tease, she would fight me for the TV remote, and she would complain my cooking was too salty. I was no longer the slacker who just wanted to take the money and run. I would remember her cycle, prepare her a comforting herbal tea in advance, and leave a light on and a warm bowl of soup for her when she worked late. That contract, filled with rigid terms, we both tacitly locked away in the bottom drawer. We lived like any ordinary couple in the world, sharing our lives. One day, she took me to a place. It was a cemetery. She stood before a headstone. On was a photo of a woman with a gentle smile. "This is my mother," Clara Hayes whispered. I gently placed the lilies I'd brought before the headstone. "Mom, I brought him to see you," Clara said to the headstone. "His name is Ethan Miller. He's a very lazy, but also very sweet guy." She turned to look at me, tears shimmering in her eyes. My mother used to say she hoped I'd find someone who genuinely cared for me, not just for my money or status. I used to think such a person didn't exist in this world. She took my hand. Now, I think I've found him. My heart was deeply stirred. I opened my mouth, wanted to say something, wanted to say that, actually, I was in it for her money at first. But looking into her eyes, filled with trust and dependence, I couldn't say anything. I squeezed her hand back. "Auntie, don't worry," I said solemnly to the headstone. "I'll take good care of her." On the way back, the setting sun cast our long shadows. "Ethan, I love you." My heart skipped a beat. I looked at her serious profile, silent for a long time. Then I smiled. "I know." She paused and smiled back. "You jerk." Our laughter echoed in the car. Maybe, from the beginning, what I truly wanted wasn't that $100 million, but a home where I could truly coast and feel at peace. And she was at home. Epilogue a year later. Clara and I were snuggled on the couch, watching TV. A reality show about couples was playing. What do you think would happen if we went on that show? I mused. Clara thought for a moment. We'd probably get slammed pretty hard. Why? A lazy slacker of a kept man and a CEO blinded by love. Sounds pretty unreliable, she analyzed calmly. Me. But she changed tack, leaning in to kiss my cheek. "I like it." Just as I was about to say something, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered hello. A somewhat familiar male voice, distorted by excitement, came from the other end. "Ethan, it's me, Brandon Sterling. I'm out." I paused. "Oh, congratulations." "Don't get cocky. I'm telling you, this past year, I figured everything out. Clara Hayes isn't worth it. I found my true love. She's a million times better than Clara. She's kind, she's caring, she doesn't care about money. She only loves me for me." "So you call me just to brag about this?" I was a little speechless. "No," he yelled. "I called to thank you. If you hadn't come between us, I never would have met her. I'm so happy now. I don't have to live under family pressure anymore. I'm finally free." Listening to Brandon Sterling's incoherent declaration of happiness, Clara and I exchanged glances. Both our expressions were priceless. I hung up. and looked at Clara. So, all that effort we went through, we actually ended up playing matchmakers. Clara was silent for 3 seconds. Then we both burst out laughing simultaneously. Turns out life, the ultimate scriptwriter, really knows how to deliver a punchline. End.